What's up? Sorry, I forgot my normal setup today, so it's gonna be a little bit jacked. What's going on, Facebook? I'm gonna be holding this with my hand because, like an idiot, I grabbed everything out of my Brandon office that I was supposed to have, drove all the way here to the house. I'm setting up all my lights. I got this big aperture light, all my stuff, right? And then realized, where the hell's my tripod at? Oh, that's right, I left it at home. Idiot.
Brian, why don't you just let me rig it?
Tiff, you can help however you want to help right now. So we're going to be talking about tonight about Florida's new proposed, I can probably put it on my bag right here.
Hang on, sorry.
Okay, there we go. We're going to be using a plant creatively to hold and prop up my phone. So it's probably going to be a little cockeyed, but that's okay.
No, you look good.
Okay, good. Thanks, Steph. Can you make sure this is working on Facebook?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where were you?
Where I'm supposed to be. So we're going to be talking about Florida's proposed constitutional carry bill. Let me know in the comments below whether you guys think this is a good thing for the state of Florida or whether you think this is a bad thing. We've debated it lots in my house. We both have very different opinions, and I'll probably have you come in the video a little bit, Tiff.
No.
You? No? Okay, because you're not done up or whatever. Okay, Kevin G says it's a bad thing. Make sure you guys tell me you're on here too. So why do you think it's a bad thing, Kevin? What do you think the negative ramifications are going to be of that? Lindsay, what's up? I'm glad you're able to make it to the live stream. I know Lindsay was chatting with me a little bit, asking me about the constitutional carry, so this is a good one for you to kind of be on. Yes, it's good for any state, okay? Revenue loss. Bad thing for the bad guys. That's interesting that you think that. Finally able to join another one. What's up, Brad? Kevin, the lack of training, yep. You think it would be a big FU for the Florida politicians? Yeah, I think it would be definitely a win for gun owners. But I also think that it may be a little bit more dangerous. And I meet way more people than you guys could ever imagine and that are just getting into guns, and these people are scary. So you prefer carried and concealed, but you support constitutional carry, okay? Vinny, what's up? Good to see that you're there, man. So I just picked up this new Glock 26. It's not new, I guess. Just had the slide Cerakoted, so we did it in a OD green, which I let Lincoln, my 7-year-old son, pick out the color. I like it. I think it's pretty cool. I've got like 5 or 6 guns getting Cerakoted at the moment. So that's pretty cool. I'll make sure to show them to you guys once I get them. So this bill was proposed. What's up, Vinny? Kevin? You would lose a lot of money, Ryan. I'm going to lose a lot of money, yes, if this goes through. You're pumped to move to Florida. Nice to pro-gun. Yeah, my entire business is based on training people to carry guns responsibly, right? And honestly, I think a lot of people are just going to start walking around with a gun without ever going through any type of training on the laws, on proper mindset, which is the biggest issue that most people have. Again, we train about 400 people every single month, so thousands every year, and I see a lot of different people coming in. And to be very honest with you, probably only about 10% of the people that attend my courses, 10%, are actually ready to carry a firearm concealed. Only 10% are really gonna take this very responsibly. This takes a lot of studying, it takes a lot of shooting. You really have to master and memorize a lot of these laws. What's up, Joey? And most people are just not willing to do that. Most of the people just want to have that little card so that they can walk around with a gun. And somebody, I don't know which platform I was talking to somebody about this, but they were saying that most gun owners, sorry, some of my kids just came home. So what they were saying is that they like this constitutional carry bill because most gun owners are very responsible people. I disagree. I see gun owners every day. I see all different levels of gun owners every day. The experts, I was at the range this morning, and I'm at the gun range 4 or 5 times a week. I mean, I see a lot of people. In fact, when I was at Shooter's World picking up this gun, the gunsmith almost got shot right in front of me. So a woman goes up, she's got a Taurus PT-111. It must have been a PT-140 because it was a 40 caliber bullet. But she pulls a gun out of her purse and she's like pointing it off to the guy, and then she points it like this. And the guy grabbed the gun and twisted it so that it wasn't pointing at him. And the lady, it didn't process in her mind that he was trying to take the gun away from her, right? Because she was being very unsafe. Now, this lady's husband said, stop pointing the gun at the man. And the lady goes, the safety's on. The safety's on. Red, you're dead. It's on black, so it's safe. So the guy, the gunsmith, drops a mag. He racks a slide, and the damn thing was loaded. I see that stuff all the time. And that's why I don't want to own a gun store ever again. And I don't want to own a gun range ever. Because those people, it is every day. I've been to gun ranges where people got shot. If the gun range that, I go to a lot of different gun ranges, but I was at a gun range recently and I'm looking at the floor and we counted 13 different bullet holes in the floor. And there's like 4 or 5 in the walls. I mean, so that's the sample of responsible gun owners. Again, I believe it's probably 10%. 10% of gun owners actually understand gun range etiquette. I think the under 90% may think they understand it, but they are absolutely gun owners more likely to obey the law over an off-duty cop. Yes, Anthony, you're right, but that's only by 2%. Okay? So concealed carry permit holders are 2% less likely to break the law than an off-duty police officer. But honestly, if we want to talk about how safe police officers are with guns, there was a police officer at a gun store recently that took a gun from the employee and then decided not to clear it, right? We're always supposed to do safety check our firearm before, after, and during use. This guy took the gun from the clerk. He then pointed it over his buddy's head, pulled the trigger, and the gun went off, missing his partner by 6 inches.
What about the cops that came into the gun store and gave me their loaded gun?
Yeah, we had 2 Homeland Security officers come into our gun store, and they were like, hey, I'm looking for a holster for this gun. What do you have? So I said, okay, let me, and then they pulled their gun out of their holster. They handed it to me, and then I dropped the mag, loaded, racked the slide, bullet flies out, and I'm like, oh, you're Homeland Security? So you just handed me a loaded gun? A guy you don't know nothing about, you just handed me your loaded gun? And then after I already hassled this guy about giving me a loaded gun, his partner busts out his pistol and hands it to me fully loaded. Idiots. Again, 10% of people, 10% of gun owners are safe and responsible in my opinion. The other 90% are fooling themselves. They may think they know, but they're oblivious. Or they become so complacent that they just think that the rules don't apply to them anymore. But enough about that. What's up, Jim? What, Tiffany?
A good point.
So Tiffany doesn't want to get on camera because she didn't do her hair right now, but that's okay.
Well, yeah, whatever. I was just going to say also about how many people...
Anything, and then they get really upset and they never actually apply for their concealed carry permit. I have a video that's getting published this coming Saturday about a student of mine who drove from 2 hours away. So I asked this guy why he wanted to carry a gun, and he said that he was hanging out by the pool. It was like Memorial Day. He had a bottle of liquor, and he had a really nice chain on. So as he's hanging out, some dude walked up, ripped the chain off his neck, grabbed the bottle of liquor, and then just walked away and kind of looked at him and said, what the hell are you going to do? So you're coming to get a concealed carry permit because somebody ripped your chain and took your bottle of liquor. So I said to this guy, what would you do if you would have had a pistol that day and that guy would have taken your chain and taken your liquor? And he said, well, I would have killed him because of stand your ground. That's not what stand your ground means. And you don't have a right to shoot somebody just because they steal your chain or your bottle of liquor. It's idiotic. This is a perfect example. These are the people that will be carrying a gun and don't go to a course because they don't want to spend the money, and they think they're just allowed to shoot people. So I think that it's going to be I think it's interesting. Now, let me premise this, because I've said a lot of negative stuff about constitutional carry. I do support constitutional carry, even though it is potentially going to destroy my business and my primary source of income. I do believe that it is our constitutional right to carry a gun, and it should not be up to the government to dictate how we carry a gun or forcing us to go get a license. I just think that that's an infringement, and I don't really support it. I think we should be allowed to just walk around with a gun. However, I also know that I'm a responsible person that is going to study the hell out of something to make sure that I'm truly prepared and truly ready, and I think that the majority of people simply are not. I think most people are just oblivious. That's okay. So let's talk a little bit. Clicked on notification for a live feed, but it has no video playing. That's interesting. Okay, so these are some little puppies. Our dog just had puppies. I don't know. So pretty damn cute, right? I'm gonna train them to be attack dogs. They're little, what are they? Schnauzers? Miniature schnauzers? Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about this bill and what they're kind of proposing. So what it says is deleting the requirement that a license to carry a concealed firearm is required in order to carry such a firearm. It's going to reduce limiting the areas where a person is prohibited to carry a firearm and revise criminal penalties, which is interesting. I kind of like that, but I also think that we're going to have a hard time getting that through. So, you know, there are 15 places in the law currently that we're not allowed to possess a firearm or bring a firearm. Some of those are places of nuisance, any place. Can I buy a puppy? Yes, we do breed these puppies and sell them. They're expensive little guys though, so just be aware of that. But you can email us and Tiffany will get you that information if you're serious. Jim says you still think you should need to take a course. Yeah, I kind of think so. Okay, so if you brought a firearm into a place that you're not supposed to have a gun, currently that's a third-degree felony. This proposal would change it to a second-degree misdemeanor. That's fine. I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest. This would also allow non-residents that are visiting the state of Florida to conceal carry or open carry without any type of training or any type of permit. I think you should have to take a course regardless. Okay. So I think that's interesting that people will just be able to come down and carry a gun in Florida. I guess that makes sense. And let's see, there's nothing. I'm going to do a more in-depth video about this later this week. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. Now, there's some people online saying that this is going to be a major win for Florida gun owners. Because this is our way to nullify the red flag laws. And that's very false. This constitutional carry would in no way nullify the red flag laws or the high-risk protection orders. However, a bill was introduced that will completely repeal those high-risk protection orders, but the constitutional carry is not. Now, and again, I keep getting a lot of messages from people. They're trying to compare some of the other 8 bills that have been proposed, and they think that this constitutional carry bill will somehow trump those. You think it will make the red flag laws skyrocket? Potentially. So one of the laws that was proposed would be to repeal the Florida preemption law. So as I explained last Monday, preemption basically says that the state of Florida has its laws up here, and each county or municipality is not allowed to create a stricter policy than what the state has already imposed. So if they repeal preemption, that would basically mean that the city of Tampa, let's say constitutional carry passed. If the preemption law was repealed, then constitutional carry would apply in the counties and municipalities that choose to recognize constitutional carry. Does that make sense? So let's say constitutional carry passes, preemption law passes, and let's say Hillsborough County says, yes, we want constitutional carry, that's totally okay. But the city of Tampa says we do not want constitutional carry. That would mean I would have to know exactly where that city line is, because I can carry my gun in the county with the constitutional carry without a license, but I would have to actually have a concealed carry permit to carry it in the city of Tampa. I think that could get very confusing and very bad very quickly. Now, the other thing that this constitutional carry bill does is it would basically make open carry in the state legal everywhere, which, you know, there's a lot of debate about open carry, right? Is the fact that your gun is visible, is that a deterrent to a bad guy? I think the answer is yes. And I'll tell you a quick story of when we owned the gun store. I was running a real estate business in the back office, and Tiffany would run the gun store up front. So, you know, the regulars always knew that I was in the back, and it wasn't, people knew that I was there, right? But the people that were new, they just thought it was Tiffany in the front. So I walked up front to ask Tiffany something one day, and there were these two like thuggish kind of dudes up there. I guess I don't have a knife to show you. But as I walked up, they both had their hands on the counter, right? Like they were just looking at guns. And I noticed one of the guys was palming something under his right hand. So I looked at it, and it was a knife. So who the fuck are you? Keep America white? I can tell you right now, generally, get the fuck off of this live stream. I am not the person for you. Get lost, moron. So this guy is palming a knife. It was fully open. And so I walked up to him and I said, what's in your hand? And the guy's like, oh man, sorry bro. Forgot I had this knife here. And he like then closes it. And I looked at his other buddy who's standing next to him, and he has his car keys, but his keys are like in his knuckle. And I said, what's in your hand? And the guy's like, oh man, it's just my keys. And I said, you guys were gonna rob my wife, right? That's what you guys are about to do. You didn't think that I was in the back, did you? So I pulled my gun out of my holster, I set it on the counter, and I said, you guys are gonna die if you think it's gonna go down like that. And they both walked out of the building, but in that moment, they didn't see that Tiffany had a gun. She did, but they didn't see it because it was concealed. But as soon as they realized that I had a gun and this was not gonna go down the way they thought it was, they left the building. So I think open carry does deter scumbags and bad people. However, open carry does kind of put a big target on your back. You know, I was walking into a gas station near my home a couple years ago, and as I'm walking into businesses, I always look through the window and just kind of like gauge the atmosphere to kind of see what's going on. And I noticed there's this one dude like standing over by the counter, and everybody else in the building looked kind of scared and nervous to me, right? So I'm kind of looking, I didn't want to open the door, I wanted to just see what was happening. And I saw this old timer dude, and he just had this big pistol on his hip. So I get it, he's open carrying, and everybody else in the store is scared. So I kind of walked up and did my thing, it wasn't a big deal. But that guy was open carrying a gun, not legally, by the way. He was from a different state and didn't understand that you're not allowed to just walk into a convenience store with a gun. But I was able to talk to him and help him understand that, even though he didn't listen to me, but whatever. But he was scaring people, right? Open carry does scare people. And I think in a place like Arizona or Alaska, where people have been open carrying for decades, and it's very normal, people see it a lot, and you just expect it, I think that it's not as big of a deal. And I think Florida would get that way over 20 years. But I definitely think it would be a disaster. It would be a nightmare for probably the first 5 to 10 years, in my opinion. I think almost every time you were open carrying a gun in public, I think the police will get called. Almost every time. And I think every single time, I don't want to be hanging around Ryan, even at church, things go down. Listen, let me tell you something, bro. If shit goes down, I'm the person you want to be around. So I think it's going to scare people, but I do think people would get used to it over time. And again, a big challenge that we have in Florida is people come to Florida from other states, right? And typically states like up north. So they're moving from New York, Connecticut. I meet a lot of people from New Jersey, and they kind of bring their anti-gun, gun control kind of mindset down here. So I don't know. I don't know what would happen with open carry. I do know that there are situations that I would like to open carry a gun in the state of Florida, and I would do it because it is my right, and I would do it. And you just got to make sure that you understand the police are going to show up. Are the Mongo background check? I don't understand that. From laws are similar. Okay, so that's one major difference. Now, as I kind of mentioned, the people that come to our courses, I really feel like I'm able to get into some of these people's minds that they can't do what they think they can do with their gun. And I kind of feel like I'm able to sway those people and somehow make sure that they don't go do something really stupid that's going to end them in prison. Even on the Florida Concealed Carry group on Facebook. If you guys are not a member of that group, make sure you check it out. It's awesome. We have a lot of great people. But I was reading through, somebody asked a question about something, I don't remember. And I started reading through the answers of people responding and trying to give, like advice, legal advice on this topic that don't know what the hell they're talking about. So they're making blanket statements and they're quoting certain parts of the Florida statute, and they don't understand what they're saying. You have to be really cautious about that, because if somebody doesn't understand these statutes properly or the case law behind it, you are going to vastly misinterpret the law and what it means, right? So let them explode, loved ones. Okay, constitutional carry has worked in other states. Yeah, so Richard Groves is a friend of mine, and met him at the gun store. I love you, Richard. Like, Richard doesn't know this, but many times when we were struggling, we just needed to pay a bill, we knew Richard was going to come in, and Richard was buying something, man. So I
support us. Yeah.
And always support us. Yeah, yeah, Richard has been great. Even though he's very ugly, we try not to hold that against Richard as much. Not everybody can be me, right? But we do love Richard. So Richard is from Maine. Maine passed constitutional carry quite a while ago. And it's been a success, right? And I think most states that have passed it, it's been successful. And here's what's really, felons will never be allowed to have access to firearms. Florida passed a bill last year that allows felons that were convicted of a nonviolent felony to get their firearm rights restored. I personally agree with that. So, I met a woman, it's a very sad case, but she was going through some financial problems, and she couldn't afford to have car insurance on her vehicle. So she knowingly drove her car for several months without car insurance, got pulled over, and she was convicted of a felony because of that. Now, is that really the type of felony that we say we can't allow a felon to have gun rights? I think that's dumb. I think that lady deserves to have a gun. But if somebody went and murdered people, hurt people, is stabbing people, those are the ones that shouldn't have guns, in my opinion. And somebody mentioned this on YouTube comment the other day. I said, yes, I support that type of gun restriction. And they said, oh, I thought, Ryan, you didn't support any gun restriction. No, I actually support common sense gun control. I support it. Common sense gun control. But in my opinion, common sense gun control means that we passed a law called the Brady Act, which Joe Biden loves to take a lot of credit for. And the Brady Act says that you have to go through a background check before you can buy a gun at a gun shop. That makes sense to me. That's logical, right? Now, they also found that in the first 5 years of the Brady Act, 1.2 million convicted felons attempted to buy a gun from a gun store, and the Brady Act denied them. So, it worked. But how many of those convicted felons actually got prosecuted for attempting to buy a firearm illegally? The number is close to 0. So common sense gun control means we need to go prosecute those convicted felons that are attempting to buy guns illegally. Does that make sense? But trying to hurt law-abiding gun owners is very dumb. All of these gun proposals that these politicians are coming up with, they don't limit bad guys. They only seem to limit the good guys, which is idiotic. Still carry a gun, open carry makes life easier, concealed carry. Yeah, I think open carry does make life a lot easier, especially if you're working, doing something. I was open carrying a gun while I was cutting down a tree in my front yard. And it's just kind of, whatever. It's my property. I'm allowed to do it. I live in a subdivision, so deal with it, right? Now, I think, no, they'd still be breaking the law. I'm not sure what that means. So there's 16 states that have passed constitutional carry already. Now, the list that I found right here, a plus to open carry is if it's accidentally shown, no worries. Yeah, but that's already a law. So it's already a law in Florida that if your firearm is accidentally shown and there was no intent, then you can't get prosecuted for that. But it doesn't mean the police won't show up. And it doesn't mean this is something I go over in the course all the time. Today, actually, I was concealed carrying outside the waistband. We went to the pool, and I was kind of just sitting outside the pool on my phone while the kids and everybody were playing. And as we were getting up, Tiffany said, the landscaping guys are making weird faces. They must have seen your gun. Okay, that's great. So it was an accident, not a big deal. I cover it up, and then we just move on with our day, right? But we don't know what that landscaping guy is going to call 911 and say, right? They might call 911 and say, there's this lunatic, crazy person at the pool. He's got a gun and he's waving it around. So then the police show up and they think that I'm a danger to people. They come guns drawn and then bad stuff happens. I've got a video of this young guy, it happened in Beaver Creek, Ohio, that was playing with a BB gun inside of a Walmart. Somebody overreacted on a 911 call. Police showed up. They shot and killed the 23-year-old guy holding a BB gun. All because somebody wildly overreacted on a 911 call. And the reality is that can happen to anybody. That organization Mothers Against Guns, which I think is like a organization founded by, what the hell is that guy's name? Michael Bloomberg, who's a psychopath, in my opinion. So they teach all the people in their group, all the mothers, that if you ever think somebody has a gun, dial 911. Is that not idiotic? I think that is really dumb. But that's what they tell people to do. So I just think that's scary, and we never know what those moms are going to say on 911. So some of the states that allow open carry or constitutional carry: Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, Idaho, Kansas, Maine, Mississippi, Missouri, New Hampshire, North Dakota, Vermont, West Virginia, Wyoming, and then I also know South Dakota just recently did it, and there's a couple more. This list is not accurate, but there's 16 right now. Florida would be the 17th. So that's really it. What do you guys think? I'm going to read through some of these comments. So I have a really nice cattleman. Yeah, I think that'd be awesome, dude. I've heard stories of guys in Plant City, which is near my house, and it's like a farming town, right? It's where they grow a lot of the strawberries and stuff. I've heard stories of on Sunday afternoon, people get up, finish church, they go to the restaurants, and they would like hang up their hats on the little hat hook, and they would hang up their guns on the hook, and then they would go sit down and eat. And that was just like very common. Can you open carry in your front lawn? Yes, you can carry on your personal property, but not common area. So if you live in an apartment complex, your property is only the inside of the apartment that you're leasing. But for me, I own the house and I own the land. So I'm allowed to be in my front yard with a gun visible. But again, I live in a subdivision, so my neighbors, I've lived here for 15 years, so they're all pretty much used to me. But if they weren't, they might just call the cops and you just don't know, right?
We also had like the concealed carry ban, vinyl wrap, forever.
Again, yeah, like people know me. So wouldn't recommend it. Neighbors nearby, quick call or get red flagged. You could. Honestly, this red flag thing scares the crap out of me because I am really nervous that my son Lincoln is going to say something.
I think you need to
clarify. You could outside on your lawn often.
I said that. I said once when I cut down a tree,
Yeah.
I was open carrying a gun.
This is not something.
But
you
in
can do.
15 years, I've done it once in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Okay?
this is
So
not
what
a
if you are
normal
renting,
background.
Tiffany?
Okay.
What if you are renting, can you open carry? Yes, so like my commercial buildings that I lease, they are mine for the term of my lease, which again means I can conceal or open carry in the building, but because the parking lot and surrounding area is common area, I cannot open carry in that common area, which my Tampa office is in the hood, and I've had people try to rob me several times at that location, and that's a place that I would want to open carry. Open carry on your balcony, it's a big balcony. Yeah, but you got to do it nude. That's the only way you can open carry on a balcony. So what do you guys think? Does everybody think this is a good idea, or do you think it's a bad idea? Open carry fishing event next weekend, Daytona Beach. You know, there's that organization, Florida Carry. You know, they kind of tell their supporters, they do these big open carry, you know, events and stuff like that. Now, I don't know much about this organization, but if this next statement is true, I don't agree with them. So I've heard that they basically promote to their members to carry a fishing pole in their vehicle, open carry a gun, and if they get stopped, simply tell the police that they're on their way to go fishing, and that's how they're legally allowed to bypass the whole open carry kind of deal, right? I don't think this is a game that we should just kind of try to manipulate by having fishing tackle in our vehicle at all times. I think that's a little silly, and honestly, I just think it makes gun owners look very dumb. Which is not the goal, right? Our goal should be to convince the anti-gun people that we are not all crazy rednecks doing stupid crap, waving guns around. And I don't know if we do that by always pushing the gun right into their face, right? Because if honestly, I'm a hardcore gun person, hardcore. And when I see somebody that I know for sure has a gun inside of a building, I do look at and analyze that person a lot, because we are smart professionals that enjoy carrying good. You know, that person that's got a gun, that's the person that's the real potential threat. I'm a gunsmith. That's the first thing we teach our customers, gun safety. Gun is always loaded. Yeah, but let me tell you, man, you know if you're a gunsmith that people bring in a lot of loaded guns and do a lot of stupid stuff. It is like never ending, which is why I have no desire to ever get back into the retail gun business. Does not promote doing that in your car, only when you're actually fishing. Okay, well, that's good. So that's good. So what I heard was false then. Tell Carmen to get off the phone. I don't know what that means. Way too often.
He said to say hi to her too, so.
Who?
He said to say hi to his wife, Carmen.
Okay. Hey, Carmen, what's up? Okay, so what do you guys think? Is this a good idea? And tell me in the comments, do you think constitutional carry will actually pass? Leave the gun in my car when I go to the shop just to relieve their stress. You know, that's not the stress in a gun store. I always conceal carry in a gun store. And I have people attend my conceal carry courses that already have permits just because they want the knowledge, right? And honestly, it kind of bothers me a little bit. When I ask them, they tell me, you know, I already have a permit. I just wanted to kind of learn more and see what I can learn from you. And I say, cool, do you have your gun now? And they're like, no, I left it in the truck. What good is it going to do in the truck? I need you to help protect me and everybody else in the building while I'm teaching. But what gun stores have a problem with is people that are conceal carrying a gun in the gun store and then feel that it's okay to take the gun out. So once time when we had the gun store, this old timer, you know, everybody wants to talk about their gun. They've been carrying for years, whatever, they're proud of it. So that's great. So this guy, I'm talking to somebody about recommending a gun, and he reaches in his waistband and pulls out this pistol, and he goes, this is my Ruger whatever. And he said, I've been carrying this gun forever. And I said, is it loaded? And he's like, F yeah, it's loaded. And I was like, sir, can I have the gun real quick? Can we unload it? If you're going to be holding it outside of your holster, we need to make sure it's unloaded before we do that, right? So that's what gun store owners and employees have an issue with, is people pulling the gun out. But if it's loaded and it's in your waistband, listen, man, that's what we want. Doesn't Shoot Straight ask for it to be unloaded? Shoot Straight does have that sign on the door, but it also says if you keep it in your holster, then it's okay. Now, Shoot Straight has had a lot of accidental shootings at it, a lot. People have died. It's a major issue, and Shoot Straight's just a little bit concerned, right?
So people are saying that's definitely not true of Florida carries, so.
Good. I know, I said that already.
I know, they do a ton for Florida gun rights. I would just say, re-clarify it again, that was just something that you heard.
I did say that. So what I heard from Florida Carry is that apparently false, if people are saying that. So that's great. I think the law has to be good. Bad parts, however, it'll pass. Definitely not true. Okay, I read that one already. Just like your wing, it's always loaded, and keep it in your pants. That is very true. I've gotten Tiffany pregnant way too many times, wasn't expecting. Haven't had a paternity test yet, so we're not 100% if they're my kids, but pretty sure. They look like me. Tiffany hates that joke. So when she wanted me to get a vasectomy last year, and I kept telling her, I can't get a vasectomy because I don't know if my next wife is going to want to have kids or not, and that's not fair for her. And finally, she got tired of that joke, and she's like, yeah, you need to get this done. So Dodge Mustang says never going to pass. Why? I think we're definitely, this is an uphill battle, because I think there's basically 7 or 6 anti-gun bills. There are 3 pro-gun bills, so this is definitely going to be very hard. And I don't know how this works. I don't understand if this is something they're just going to discuss like on the legislator level and decide themselves, or is this something that's going to be on the 2020 ballot and we're going to be able to vote about it? I don't know. Has been closed to months due to a fire. Yeah, and that fire started because somebody went into Shoot Straight. They had tracer ammunition in a rifle. They fired the gun. The tracer bullet went into the rubber and then smoldered, caught all the rubber on fire, and it was crazy. We need to remove the red flag laws by doing lawsuits. I think the red flag laws do need to go away because they are extremely dangerous. Honestly, I think it might be beneficial. I feel like out there, because I think crime rates would dwindle down dramatically. Yeah, crime rates have been plummeting in the state of Florida for the last 10 years, pretty steeply. And I did a video recently comparing it to the state of California, where crime is actually rising in California and declining in Florida. So I think you're right. And push for passage. Yep, I agree there, Richard.
Why don't you tell everybody how you taught a class the day after your vasectomy? Because you thought you'd be fine.
Yeah. So I'm an idiot. I don't know if you guys have figured that out yet, but I got my, so Tiffany was like, do you want to take a week off or whatever after you get a vasectomy? And I was like, fuck no, I'll teach a class. Like, I'll teach 2 classes. I can do it. Not a big deal. Man, that was the dumbest thing I ever did. I was in so much pain. I was just trying to suck it up and not let anybody know too much, right? So Mississippi has open carry. So that's cool. Pro-gun laws and dump the anti-gun laws. Yep, I agree. There's definitely a lot of gun restriction that's been proposed. So yeah, that's it, guys. Stay safe. I got some videos posting over the next couple days. I have some videos that I am only posting to Instagram. So if you're not following Tampa Carry on Instagram, definitely check me out there. Take a look at the video that I posted on Saturday with Tactical Steve. It is dope. And until next time, stay safe.